Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Welcome back to We Are Starfleet, a podcast dedicated to the new Star Trek universe. We started out covering Discovery, and Strange New Worlds was too good not to talk about, so we covered some of that too. And now we're covering Star Trek Prodigy, taking over coverage from our sister podcast, Rarely Going. My name is Mike Slammer, and I will be your host for this discussion. Previously, you may have also heard the voices of Ian Buckley, Ashley Thomas, and Craig McKenzie. They have also joined the podcast to deliver continuing coverage on all things Trek. But with me today, I'm very happy to have Mr. Geoff Owen in the virtual studio with me. Geoff is also a part of the We Made This network, having guested on several podcasts and the host of his very own upcoming Farscape podcast. And of course, he's got his own Trek pod, Beyond Farpoint, over on the Holosuite Media Podcast Network. Geoff, welcome to We Are Starfleet.
Thank you, Mike. Happy to be here. I can't wait to get into this episode of Prodigy because it's such a great episode to talk about today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're definitely going to be jumping into it in more detail, but I gotta say, I had a big mouth drop open moment at the end of this episode. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned it when you were talking to Craig last week. I don't know if it was you or Craig, and they're saying about you believe that this one character had an ulterior motive, and I hadn't recognised that at all until you mentioned it. So I was watching her like a hawk in this episode, and yeah, you or Craig were absolutely bang on the money. So yeah, we'll get into that presumably more later on. Spoilers.
What's been your thoughts on Star Trek Prodigy as a new entry into the Star Trek franchise?
From the beginning?
Yes.
When they first announced it, I thought, I don't know if this is going to be for me. It's a Star Trek series that's geared towards children, and I think I might have been one of the ones that has sort of stepped up saying, why do we need a kids program of it? Because Star Trek is fairly accessible across the board, in my opinion. How wrong was I? The first couple of episodes did feel very much animated Star Wars, and I think that's sort of been the general consensus of the first couple of episodes. But the more the show has gone on, it isn't just now a great program for kids. It's a great program for Star Trek fans, and I actually recommend this to people now who've never watched Star Trek before, just to say, if you want to get an idea of what Star Trek's all about, if Star Wars is more of your thing, but you want to see what Star Trek is all about, get into this, because it sort of guides you into the meanings and messages of what Starfleet and Star Trek is all about, while all the time absolutely keeping the existing fans entertained. So yeah, I've mentioned this before on social media, and it's been liked and, dare I say, retweeted. I might have that completely wrong, by some of the Prodigy writing staff like Aaron Waltke. I think they love the fact that, you know, it's a recommendation of not just great Star Trek, but a great first Star Trek for people as well.
Yeah, I have to echo those sentiments. The show is doing a great job of keeping of keeping the Star Trek lore and all the history behind it very accessible. There are a few components to the show, like when they dip out and they make these references to legacy characters, where I think if you're watching it for the first time and you don't know anything about those characters, it might encourage you to go explore the universe a little bit more and find out more about that particular character. So the show is really doing a great job. And, yes, I've mentioned it before, also on Twitter. Aaron Waltke also, gave it a like and a retweet, and that made me feel so good too. Like it's so cool to interact with the creators of these shows, because they're working really hard to make something pretty incredible. And it's great that we get to experience it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing I found is he does engage a lot with the fans who are, engaging with the show. Sorry, Mike, I've just realised my Audacity is recording the wrong audio channel for me. No. So I'm just going to briefly pause it. It's recording the internal mic. There we go. It's now recording the microphone. So there's going to be a slight break there. You might have to re-edit that bit as you're going through. So I do apologise. Yeah, and the other thing as well is you've got these legacy characters that have been introduced into it. I mean, obviously you've got Janeway, but we're now seeing the likes of Jellicoe coming into it. We're seeing Captain O'Connor. And for those that are watching it thinking, well, these characters, yes, they're part of Prodigy, but do you want to see their previous stories? Do you want to see where these guys came from? Go back. There's 7 seasons of Voyager. There's a great 2-parter called Chain of Command. There's an episode called The Outrageous O'Connor, which you can watch if you really want to. But yeah, it's introducing them through these legacy characters, legacy ships. And I've got to say, they look fantastic as well. They've been brought up with these new CGI effects, computer animated cartoon effects, and, not taking anything away from what Lower Decks has done, but we've got some amazing ship designs that are obviously all transferred over from the legacy shows, and they just look so amazing in this CGI computer animated environment that we've got with Star Trek Prodigy. And that's the one thing I've got to say about this show, is it is just so beautiful. You could pause. Sorry, I've kind of gone off a bit of a tangent here, but you could pretty much pause any moment of any episode of Star Trek Prodigy and be given an absolutely amazing picture that you could print out and frame. But yeah, sorry. As I said, bit of a tangent. That's the way my mind works sometimes.
Oh, man, I love it. So for here today, we are talking the episode Masquerade, which is episode 15 of this particular series. I do like that we're getting a season 1, episode 15, even though we had that mid-season break. I do take issue with a lot of television these days, cutting it off at 10 episodes and being like, here you go, that's all you get. Then you've got some shows that are doing, here's 8 episodes, but they were really expensive, you guys. It's like, we didn't ask for expensive shows. We asked for good quality TV that we can continue to watch. And I think Star Trek Prodigy bringing back some of that. Here's episode 15 of season 1. Hell yeah, bring me that. That makes me feel good. There's my little tangent. Geoff, Masquerade, at a high level, what are your thoughts on this particular episode?
We've already spoken about that ending, but obviously it's carried on from the cliffhanger that we got at the end of the previous episode. We've got the Protostar hiding out in the neutral zone, the Prometheus? No, it wasn't the Prometheus.
The Protostar.
No, the Janeway ship.
The Dauntless.
Thank you. I forgot the name of it.
Yes.
We've got the Dauntless. The other side of the neutral zone on the Federation side being taunted by taunted by the Romulans, going, you can't come in here. And we get this great story then that takes place on this planet, and Janeway and the Protostar, Janeway and the Dauntless crew, then monitoring what's going on remotely. They can see what's happening. They can see the Romulans getting involved, and it's a change, because from the last couple of episodes, it's all been we've got to get after these savages, and I think that we've had that moments of clarity now from Janeway where she's gone, they're kids. We've got to try and help them. And I think we've reached that Janeway of something's going on. We need to talk to the kids and find out what's happening. So... Yeah.
There's something really interesting. Last week, Craig had mentioned about on Instagram, they do these logs. So they had Kate Mulgrew do one of these captain's logs. If anyone's interested, on Instagram at Star Trek Logs. And it's basically Janeway giving a little bit more exposition surrounding the episode. And she reflected on that the outlaws who have control of the USS Protostar are little more than teenagers. And she actually cites examples of working with the Ocampa, right, from Voyager, and of course mentioning the slow aging natives from the planet Miri from the original series. And she also mentions the Romulan encounter at the end of the episode. Very specifically, Commander Tysus, in the episode Crossroads, he expresses concern over the negotiations with Romulans. Well, what is happening right at the same time in...
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from, with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
In the Romulan Star Empire, it's the evacuations that Admiral Picard is heading up. So the timeline is actually lining up quite nicely. And even though it might not be necessarily on screen, the Star Trek universe is talking about it. And I think that's really cool to bring in some of that exposition that's kind of extra as opposed to in the television show.
Yeah, I've only just subscribed to that Star Trek Logs channel on Instagram. I'm not a huge Instagram follower, but I haven't actually had a chance to go into it. The one thing I was quite impressed at is just the thumbnails all look like they've painted this amazing collage across the Instagram app, and I thought that was fantastic. And just scrolling down through it as well, I noticed they did something similar for the last season of Lower Decks. There was Shaq's reports, there was reports as well from Burnham during the last season of Discovery. So when I've got a moment, I'm going to be going through and watching all of those videos. I think it's great as well that they've sort of tied up where the timeline is, because I think that's been a big confusion, certainly for me, particularly with the Romulans showing up on this episode, going, well, at what point are we in the Romulans timeline? Because I wasn't sure whether this was taking place before or after the events of Star Trek 2009, because obviously the Romulan sun going supernova is what causes... the events of Star Trek 2009, where Spock goes back after Romulus is drilled for by Nero. So yeah, I knew obviously there was a big part of the Romulan Empire, and funnily enough, in the episode of Beyond Farpoint that we've just recorded with myself and Baz Greenland, we talked about how we felt that Nemesis was the beginning of the downfall of the Romulan Empire, and suddenly we've got this incident taking place in Prodigy, which seems to hint at the Romulans being absolutely fine. But yeah, obviously all of this is going on with Star Trek 09 and the events of Star Trek Picard as well. So it's I think this is the Romulans trying to put on a brave face, knowing that behind, just over there, everything is starting to break down a bit for them.
Okay, so let's get right into this episode. We have Captain Dahl delivering his own captain's log. And what I found interesting about this, Geoff, is he's clearly a little insecure in his log. He's enamored and envious of this Okana. What do you think?
Yeah, he's very much envious of him, isn't he? Because this roguish individual has come on board, and I kind of think that Dahl has already got a bit of the eye for Gwyndala now, but Gwyndala now is looking so much at Dahl. So I think he's no longer the big dog on the ship. And as a result, I think he's he's very envious of Mr. O'Connor. And as we said, we do get this fantastic sort of dream sequence where you see O'Connor being ejected from the ship out of an airlock, and suddenly it snaps back to reality, and we see that it's just Dahl fantasizing. So yeah, yes. I think that I agree with you. I think he's very envious of him.
Yeah, it's pretty funny to see here. As Dahl is giving his log, the camera's kind of bouncing around the ship, and we see that, the whole crew is hard at work kind of repairing the ship. We suffered extensive damage to the Protostar's main drive after that torpedo hit from the USS Dauntless. So we're on a mission. We're on a mission to repair the Protostar, and we're looking for a starport.
And I've got to say as well, we've got a great effect early on as well, where you see this explosion take place on the exterior of the Protostar, and suddenly you cut inside it, and you see Jank and Pog straight away fighting fires with O'Connor right next to him. They know that they need to get this ship to somewhere where a big repair job can be done. And O'Connor obviously knows his way around. He obviously knows his way around the neutral zone as well. He takes them straight to this place because, sure enough, the contraband that he was carrying in the previous episode is headed for this planet. And Craig in our previous episode mentioned that he didn't like that Okana had the solve for this to kind of get the kids out of the sticky situation that they were in. But now it's all making really good sense that Okana would very specifically like to travel into the neutral zone to get away from not just the Romulans, but also to do some business. He's got some business down here on this planet called Noble Isle. That's a great name, isn't it?
It is. I don't think it's going to live up to its reputation. Let me ask you, how did you feel about the visualization of a space elevator? I don't think we've seen that before.
Well, we have seen space elevators before, or orbital tethers, or whatever they decide to call them, because Voyager did an episode, and we haven't long seen one as well in an episode of Lower Decks, but I think this is probably the best realised one that we've seen, because Voyager's special effects budget didn't quite make it look great. Lower Decks was a lot of fun, but this one absolutely makes it look like it's this... That's basically, as you said, a space elevator that goes from an orbiting ship down to the planet. And I think Prodigy so far has done the best realisation of how this looks. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And I love that they preface this planet as being dedicated to science. And as we learn, it certainly is a very scientific planet, but it's unregulated, it's a little dangerous. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Starfleet should be 100% all over this. Scientific research colony, scientific research planets. God, yes. But the fact that Starfleet keep intercepting things. And the fact that they've got to deal with all of their trading through characters like Captain O'Connor, you've got to know that there's something going on that planet. Sure enough, we see it because the research that they're doing, particularly when they see Dal for the first time, they work out what he is. You know that there's something going on there. They're doing, effectively, what has been banned by Starfleet, all of this genetic modification, genetic manipulation. So, yeah, it's scientific research, but not the research that Starfleet wants to look into.
Right.
And they're in the neutral zone as well.
Yes, which is another little tidbit of information. Genetic augmentation. We meet Dr. Jocko very quickly into the episode. Dr. Jocko is advertising their wares, if you will. If you don't like something about yourself, well, come on over and change it. I'll bring out the best in you. That is a tantalizing prospect, right? Because it kind of digs into everyone's got a little something they're insecure about, and especially our own personal vanity. It's hard not to think about wanting to go and change something fundamental about yourself for the better. And as we see, I don't think that Dr. Jocko necessarily has the utmost professional skill in this field. I think they're more of an opportunist.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
As we learn in this episode, it really comes to fruition with Dal.
Yeah, and as you were saying as well, the whole thing about genetic manipulation, genetic augmentation, that's never gone well in Star Trek. You only have to look as far as Khan and the augments from Enterprise. And more recently as well, we've got I've forgotten the character's name, the Brent Spiner character.
Well, you can't forget about Dr. Bashir.
Dr. Bashir, he's probably the successful one. But then you look at the three people who visit him on Deep Space Nine as well. But I was thinking as well of Brent Spiner's character's daughter from Picard season 2, because she's obviously been genetically manipulated as well. And it's one of those things. It's like it's got the possibility to go so great, Dr. Bashir, or so badly wrong, Khan Noonien Sung. Yeah, Khan Noonien Singh even. And now with Dal, we can add another poor human to the list of Soong experiments here. The reveal of Dal's origin. We learn that he's actually a human augment. He's a blend of, Jeff, was it 26 separate species? Yeah, and we can see some of those later on, but they mention the Vulcans, and they said, based on some inferior race like Homo sapiens, but then they mention the Proto-Organians and the Vulcans. But of course, as the episode goes on, you can see that there's Klingon in there as well. There's Andorian. I presume there's Tellarite, obviously, all in there as well. And I love the comment that Dr. Jargo makes as well when she goes, it's not being done well. I'm surprised you can talk. So she obviously recognises that this has all been a bodge job, and somehow it works.
Yeah. Somehow it works. I think it's pretty telling how that all kind of came together. Dr. Jocko winds up installing a device that allows Dal to unlock dormant parts of his DNA. And in the episode, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, Jeff, but in the episode, it doesn't quite work out the way that Dal thinks it is.
No, exactly. And he returns to them after sort of talking to Dr. Jocko, saying, how long is this procedure going to take? He comes out and he's full of these incredibly long words, and he's a bit of a dick, to be honest, to his old shipmates, because it's like, don't you know these long words of how very I didn't write down the words, so I can't remember what he said, but how very something of you. And I thought, you're being you're being a bit of a douche at the moment there, Dal.
Yep. He was really trying to flex, and he was also giving it to Okana. He did a little mind read of Okana, and kind of revealed that, a story he had told to make himself look good was actually because he was just trying to get himself to look good for a prize, for some treasure, for some women.
Yeah. Which completely tacks with how we saw him in the very first episode. We saw him in the Outrageous O'Connor, because he's playing off these two girls against each other as well. So of course that's what he's all about.
Of course. And of course Dahl wants to dig into it, and just kind of
rub it in his face as well.
I knew all along. Exactly. Man, it was really hard not to dislike Dahl, huh?
Yeah, at that point you just think, oh, is this what we're going to be stuck with from now on? I really was hoping that this wasn't going to be something that was going to carry on long term. But of course they're not going to do that.
Right.
But we start seeing the changes taking place on his face as well, because the first thing that happens is he gets the Klingon ridges on his forehead. And suddenly he starts talking like a Klingon as well. And at one point I thought, is he actually taking on the persona of someone else? But no, he was still Dahl, but he was Dahl with all this extra arrogance and confidence about him. Confidence is the wrong word. Arrogance is the more suitable word there. It's like, I can do all this. Yeah, but...
Yeah. It's hard not to appreciate his motivation. He had just learned, and Gwyn rightly points it out, like he just learned that he was essentially a test tube, and
no parents.
It took a toll on him. No parents, no family, no planet to get back to. He's just nothing. And he is somebody. He's something, and he's someone very important to a lot of people. And that's what the show is taking the time to talk about. So it's hard not to understand his motivation to try and be like, well, maybe this person can help me, by at least giving me a leg up on the competition. But it doesn't quite go the way that he wants. No.
And one thing as well is it sort of adds a bit of a bittersweet note if you go back now and watch the first season, because there's that moment, I think, first few episodes, there's that moment, I think, in episode 3 or 4, where you see him seeing who he thinks are his parents, which is all an illusion, of course. But thinking, but there wouldn't have been any parents for him to have seen. So going back and watching that episode now, I think is going to be quite bittersweet, knowing what we know now.
So when the Romulan Tal Shiar finally land after having caught up with the crew of the Protostar, Dahl gets a chance to really showcase this new ability that he has. He kind of turns into a complete and total martial artist. But actually, let me back up for a moment here and talk quickly about how when the Romulans first arrive, Okana bails. He's got his hands up, and the Romulans are like, we want to take the captain up to the ship. And Dahl's expecting to be thrown into cuffs, but then the Romulans look to Okana because he's the adult and he's the oldest, and he looks grisly and, like he's obviously in command. But he says, oh, actually, I'm not the captain. You guys seem to have some stuff to chat about. I'll see you later.
Yeah, and he absolutely books it out of there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was expecting more out of him, some kind of redemption. And I'm a little disappointed that he turned tail so quick.
There's 5 episodes left of the season yet, so who knows? We may still see him come back. And I'd quite like to see that when they all challenge him about what he did. Basically left this group of kids. I wonder if Janeway will pick him up, actually.
That would be good.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's where that's going to go next. Janeway is going to find him, talk to him, and find out a little bit more about the kids again. Because her her information so far is the very brief moment where she met Dal and the information that the Denobulant, I've forgotten the name of the character from the space.
I think Barnes Frex.
Barnes Frex, yeah. Obviously, the one-sided story that Barnes Frex gave her. So, yeah, I think she's going to start seeing more about what these kids are about. And I really do want to get that moment whereby they just sit down and talk, saying, yeah, we kind of can't talk to you because we've got this thing on the ship, which is going to destroy your ship if you communicate with it. Which is... Yeah. I know we're talking back to last week's episode, but it was quite frustrating seeing all those moments of like, tell her, or, tell him.
Tell her!
Jank and Pog meeting the other Tellarite, just saying, just tell him what's going on. Now we know with what's happening with Essentia, it's a good job that Quinn didn't say anything. But it's like, Dal meets Janeway. Just go ahead, tell her what's happening. She's Janeway, she's going to understand. But we know that, he doesn't. So
Of course. Yeah. And it's as Craig mentioned too, right? Where you have Starfleet officers communicating, regarding last episode. And of course, Dal is going to see and hear that another Starfleet officer is basically calling him a savage. I blew up this, this little kid blew up the relay station. They're savages. We have to capture them, et cetera, et cetera. So of course, Dal is going to book it. It does make sense. But yes, it's frustrating because it's like, just tell her. We've gotten a lot of good chase sequences, some good action in this series, and this episode doesn't hold back either because we get a great chase sequence after Dal initially knocks out the Romulans using his new DNA enhanced genome.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
If you will. And he goes, what is it, Jeff? He goes from like Klingon to Vulcan to Tellarite to Andorian all within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and you can see them all taking place on his face as well because he's got the Andorian antenna, the Klingon head ridges, the Vulcan ears, the Tellarite sort of snout around his face. So you can see all of these taking effect on him as well.
And it's taking a toll on him too.
Yeah, it's playing with his mind, it's playing with everything. So all this promise of it, him being fixed, it's not fixing him at all. It's making him even more irrational. So, yeah.
Right.
It wasn't the right thing for him, and I think he knows that now by the end of the episode.
He's not stable at all. He's looking sick. And meanwhile, the Romulans are still chasing them up the space elevator.
Yeah. And there's one moment of clarity that Dal gives, because during this time, Murph is going absolutely nuts in his little hamster ball.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he's bouncing around in there like a little ball of energy. And this moment of clarity from Dal when he says, open the ball, or whatever it is he says, and suddenly Murph comes out, and Murph suddenly is this kick-ass action hero. I never saw that come in.
Certainly not. He's bouncing all over between all the Romulans. He single-handedly kicks them off the elevator and knocks them out. It all looks pretty PG. I think all the Romulans are alive, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the A-Team. Everyone survives in the A-Team. So yeah, they're all going to be absolutely fine. So they've been transported away. So we're all good.
So, in the interest of conversation, because we are on a podcast after all, how do you feel about Murph's transformation?
Murph's character from episode 1 has been this big mystery because we didn't even know what he was until episode 11 when they said, oh yeah, he's a melanoid slime worm. And it's like, okay, but what is that? What's that going to involve?
Right.
You see the metamorphosis, and I'll tell you what it reminded me of was the character of River Tam from Firefly and Serenity. Where, you see this sort of character. River Tam obviously was quite a withdrawn character. Unfortunately, with the experiments that had been done for her, she wasn't fully firing on all cylinders, unfortunately. But then suddenly she's activated. And I kind of got that impression with Murph, that suddenly, bang, something inside him has finally ticked over. He knows what his purpose is. And bang, he's got arms and legs now. So yeah, he is going to be this kick-ass action hero. And he did kind of feel like Star Trek has now got a superhero as well.
A little bit, yeah.
I loved it, and the fact that they can now take off the security detail from Roktak, who's now more interested in the science side of it. And let's face it, they were only giving her the security detail because she was big and imposing.
Yep.
Now we've got Murph, who's much, much better suited to the job. So yeah. I love it really
works out. It really works out for me too. I think that as long as Murph is not used like as the MacGuffin to always get the kids out of trouble, I would continue to love everything about it. And also this kind of sort of explains why Paramount CBS didn't mass produce Murph plushies like right out of the gate, because if they knew the whole time that Murph was going to be changing into something else, then, kids wouldn't really necessarily want those plushies. And it wasn't until like the fan outcry, like, the petitions going around where it's like, I want a Murph plushie. If we can have, Baby Yoda plushies, why do we not have a Murph plushie? Makes total sense to me. And it kind of makes total sense to me as to why that wasn't done.
Another thing that makes me think of as well is I'm wondering if there's a Pokemon element to this as well. Maybe this isn't even Murph's final form. Maybe there's going to be more transformations as we go on. And
I love that.
So, we've seen this first transition where he gains his arms and legs. By the end of Prodigy, he could be absolutely 100% humanoid. Able to talk. I mean, they've got the voice actor D. Bradley Baker to play Murph, and so far all he's done is sound effects, and to be fair, he's bloody good at it. But there's got to be more coming out of that guy's mouth because he's such a fantastic voice actor. So let's give him more to do than just random squeaks and bleeps. So.
Geoff, I think you're bang on with that because the entire time, they've been hyping up D. Bradley Baker as the voice of Murph. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, all he's doing is going, noises.
Yeah.
That's not, you don't pay D. Bradley Baker money. You know what I mean? Like you give someone, a newcomer, that kind of role. So interesting stuff there.
So yeah, that's my theory on it. I don't think this is Murph's final form. I think we're going to see
definitely
a lot more
not
from him.
The kids definitely make it all the way up the space elevator, back to the Protostar. They are perfectly safe. Everything goes well, and they're all reunited aboard the ship. However, we need to talk about a big plot detail that happens on the USS Dauntless.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say. Your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
So going back earlier in the episode, just to set the scene here, the Dauntless with Vice Admiral Janeway is stationed outside the neutral zone. They're not allowed in. Janeway is negotiating with none other than Admiral Jellicoe himself. I thought this was a cool cameo. What about you?
They said before the second half of this season began that we were going to get Ronnie Cox coming back as Admiral Jellicoe. So, yes. I made the argument in an episode of Beyond Farpoint that Captain Jellicoe wasn't a terrible captain. He just didn't have the best crew that suited him. The Enterprise crew was not the crew that he needed. He needed a more wartime crew.
Yes.
You know, my opinion is that he was a great captain, and sure enough, he's gone up through the ranks, and we see him now as Janeway's superior officer. And I think this is the whole reason as well why people have been saying, "Oh, it's Vice Admiral Janeway," because she can still be outranked by rear admirals and senior admirals in Starfleet. And I think that's what the whole thing was there with Jellicoe coming on board. But the other thing as well I've got to mention in that scene where we talk about Jellicoe.
Yeah.
The moment the conversation finishes, did you see the model of the Voyager in Janeway's quarters? And I'd not seen that before in previous episodes. It is a fantastic detailed model. You know how captains always have models of their ships, because we've seen Picard with the Stargazer. There's a fantastic model of the Voyager just behind the screen where Jellicoe is talking from, and you see it for a few seconds, and it is gorgeous. I loved it. I actually had to rewind that to watch it again.
I'm going to have to go back and look at it more closely, because I remember looking at the screen, looking at all the detail on this on the visual with Admiral Jellicoe, and then, you know, looking away when it closed. So I missed that. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, go back and look at it.
But great shout.
It's only a few seconds long, but it's beautiful. That's all I got to say. It's beautiful.
But this sets the whole stage, right? Because Janeway can't cross over to go after the protostar, right? Like, she's emotionally compromised. Of course, Chakotay means a lot to her, but you cannot risk negotiations right now. And I agree with you, Geoff. I think that Jellicoe, you know, he's not a bad guy. Like, he's doing his job, and he's drawn a hard line in the sand right now because it's what has to be done for the greater good. And that's the kind of commanding officer that Jellicoe is, even on the Enterprise. Totally agreed. You know, of course, we're on Picard's side. Of course, we're on Riker and Troy's side, thinking that this guy's kind of an asshole. Who are you to stomp on board my ship and boss me around? It's like, well, we're about to go to war, and if we are, this ship needs to be ready for that. And like real war, not like the little, you know, pew-pew that you get into on the border, on the fringes of Federation space, but all-out battle. And that's something different. So he's doing his job.
Yeah, he's a diplomat from the other side of the table to Picard.
Yes. And leading us out of this scene, we have a moment with Sensia. And I'm wondering if you noticed the way she looked after that scene concluded.
Yeah, the camera sort of focused on her face a little bit too long. And as I said, I'd sort of been watching her more after your comments in your last episode with Craig. And yeah, I started to realise that there was something going on. And then later on, you see her leaving the bridge of the Dauntless, and at that point, I thought, yes, you're bang on the money. There is something going on with her, and yeah, we see it at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so Essentia, in another scene, she's continuing to work closely with the Diviner, whether through coaching or therapy. And, as I mentioned in the previous episode, it all came from, a seeming desire to help this father reunite with his daughter. That's what Starfleet's about. People helping people, doing the work. But when Janeway orders her to listen in to the Romulan chatter, to see okay, what are the Romulans doing? Because Essentia offers I will go after the Protostar. I will be, your liaison. I will go where you cannot. And it's oh, that's a pretty big offer, Essentia. That's interesting.
And Janeway's obviously gone completely about face, because at the end of the last episode, she was single-minded. She was going into the neutral zone, damn it. Mm-hmm. But she's obviously taken stock, realised what's happening, and she's the sensible one now, saying, no, we need to think about this. You can't go in, I can't go in. We need to monitor what's going on. So I think Janeway's obviously just, as I said, taken stock of it and realised that they need to basically look at this more objectively. And I thought, yes, that's the Janeway we know, not the single-minded Janeway. Although, we have seen that single-mindedness before with episodes like Scorpion, but it's the more measured Janeway, and I'm glad we saw her back in this episode.
Yeah, that's the Janeway that I think we're all pretty keen on. So as the events unfold with the space elevator chase, Janeway is forced to give an order that she doesn't want to, and that's to destroy the Protostar. Because we cannot allow it to fall into enemy territory. We cannot allow it to fall into Romulan hands or anyone else's for that matter. So she gives the order, the torpedoes get fired, and they are making their way onto the ship. It's revealed through the comms that, yes, the crew of the Protostar is back on board. The Romulans are not there. They don't have the ship. Mm-hmm. So, we get remote detonation of the torpedoes they're immediately reprogrammed and diverted off course, and then they're exploded. Is that the first time that we've really gotten a sense of how torpedoes can be remotely operated in Star Trek?
That's a good question, to be honest. I know there was... no, that's a different thing. I was thinking of the end of Picard Season 2, but that was a different thing where the drones were being reprogrammed because... the only thing I can think of similar to that is back to a Voyager episode with the Dreadnought. That
had like an AI. It was like an AI built into the torpedo.
Yeah. I think it's the first time that we've seen torpedoes and weapons being able to be reprogrammed to be diverted and explode safely. I thought, it's possibly a minor thing in the grander scheme of things, but I think it's the first time we've seen it in Trek.
I think it's interesting to call out. Yeah. I think it's because, this is the case. I wonder how many times this could have come in handy in, many previous episodes. I always think about that sort of thing whenever they talk about, a new use of a weapon or a tool. And it's interesting here because when the torpedoes explode, of course, you have a moment where, again, we see Essentia leave the bridge. She leaves. She sneaks away at what seems to be the last minute. And then, of course, the camera cuts back to the Protostar, and we have Dahl and the crew, and they're bonding together after the escape. And then when we come back, just at the very end of this episode, Geoff, mouth drop open, Essentia says, "It's time. Enough of this. We have to make our move." And all of a sudden, the facade drops, and her true vision comes to life. And did you see this? I had no idea. Even I was suspicious. I was paranoid, but I wasn't sure what was going on. But Essentia is essentially the same species as the Diviner.
Yeah, and she knows what's going on as well, because she activates Dreadnought as well in the quarters, and it's that moment when you see Dreadnought reappearing. And I did wonder what was happening, because obviously we'd seen the Diviner in the voice credits, but we'd seen the actor playing Dreadnought in the voice credits all the way along for these episodes as well. I'm thinking, well, we haven't seen him for a few episodes. Is he still there? Mm-hmm. And what a way to come back as well. Essentia brings him, basically gives the command, the table morphs into it, and you can see the Diviner's shocked as well, because he's seeing everything.
Shocked.
Yeah. The look on his face, he's not expecting it, and he's obviously suffering from his memory loss as well, but she's obviously going to try and get him to start remembering who he is, and we've got a double act on our hands now of Essentia and the Diviner. This is where Prodigy is going next.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I loved how the Diviner had no idea. Like the shock on his face, like what is going on? You know, the memory loss. The memory loss seems to be, you know, like little things appear to be coming back to him as we get, you know, little bits and lines of dialogue, but it's all about finding his daughter. He seems to be very connected to his family. And I'm wondering if, you know, how will this character now, the Diviner, with the amazing voice actor of John Noble, how will this character now evolve? Because if Dreadnought and Essentia are now the villainous, the traditional villainous archetype, does this mean that the Diviner now has a choice between, you know, let's assume he gets back his memories and he understands everything that's going on, but now he's more focused on rescuing his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, what is your theory? What's your call out here? Do you think he's going to go one way or another way?
Oh, it could go any way at the moment. I'm beginning to think he's going to get the redemption arc at this point. I think what Essentia is doing with Dreadnought, they've sort of taken control over it. And I think he might sort of see the error of his ways, because as well as that, we don't still know what the effects on him are after what Zero did to him.
Exactly.
So we don't yet know if he's ever going to be, inverted commas, normal again. So he could join forces with Janeway. He could join forces with his daughter. He could join forces with Essentia and Dreadnought. We just don't know at the moment. And as I said, the shock on his face is what the big clue was that we don't know. Because if it had just been a big grin spreading across his face, we know exactly what's happening. But the shock sort of, you've got that big question mark over it now. Where's this going to go next? So, yeah.
Where's it gonna go next? I love it. I love it. I love it. Do you think that Essentia is part of the plan, has been a part of the plan the whole time? Do you think that maybe the Diviner knew but didn't let on? Or where do you think Essentia came from?
I don't think the Diviner's got any clue about her. Whether he would have known about her in the first place, I don't know. But he's got no clue about her now. What happened to the Diviner's planet is still obviously the question over how that planet got ravaged as much as it did. So, yeah, sorry. It
does lend a little credence to the Diviner story, where Starfleet came back and destroyed our planet. Because if there is a second separate entity also on mission to also destroy Starfleet or what have you with this plan, then something must have happened, right?
Aren't they clones as well? Because isn't Gwyn a clone of the Diviner?
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
Because he's called her his progeny.
Right.
I'm sure I remember them talking about her being a clone. And that makes me wonder if she is a clone of the Diviner. Is Essentia a clone of the Diviner as well? I may be completely off on the wrong path here, but
okay.
Just made me think then.
We definitely have to come back and talk about this in depth when the season closes. I'd love to have you on for a roundup.
There's going to be an episode where we talk, and I'll be honest as well, we have had problems with our recording tonight as well. But we're going to have that conversation 5 episodes down the line, or maybe 25 episodes down the line. We may not know any of what's happening here until the end of season 2, and we'll basically come at it and go, I was right, or you know what, I was completely off the mark. But I can't wait to find out. But
that's what I love about doing this. That's what I love about doing this. It was a great episode. Oh man, so much fun. Geoff, did we miss anything?
There's a couple of things I've highlighted. Just basically from a few of the notes I made during the episode itself. I put a note early on and I said, don't give Murph a phaser, because right at the start, he's dancing around. He's obviously still coordinating his arms and legs. He's got 2 little phasers burning gouges out of the ship.
That was super cute. I liked it. Yes,
Zero
don't give him a phaser.
Yeah, Zero has a great line as well early on in the episode where they say, I'm sensing our captain is utterly clueless, talking about Dal. And what else have we got here? I just like random lines that I've highlighted. Roktak is so science-y. But there's one line in there as well, which I thought summed up the episode and sums up Star Trek so well as well. Science rules, but science needs rules. I thought that was superb. I loved it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. You know, Roktak had some good dialogue in this episode, especially giving her science log. Nice closeout there.
Yeah.
Being able to focus on doing things that she loves and finding new science to play with. I love that. And kind of passing off, as we mentioned earlier, passing off security detail, quote unquote, to Murph. Although I'm not sure that Murph is going to fully understand what that means.
No, I think Murph is smarter than we're giving him credit for, though. So,
yeah, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like the attack dog. So it's like, go after them, kill, Murph, attack sort of thing. But yeah, I can't wait to see that as well. This show has changed so much since episode 1, and we're only on episode 15, and we already see so much development from all of these characters. None of these characters are an Ensign Kim. We've seen so much development. I'm loving everything about this show.
Yeah, I love that. And it's great to have, some kind of, it's lighthearted, but there's meat to the bones. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a good show that you can sit and watch and put on either in the background or actually just, put your phone down and stop what you're doing and sit on the couch and watch it. Because like you said, it's also beautiful.
Yeah. Just screenshot anything and you've got an amazing computer wallpaper, print, what have you. It's even those early trailers when you saw what the special effects artists were capable of, you just thought, this is going to be a special show. This is going to be a really, really good looking show, and it hasn't let us down from that. Every episode has given us something to look at. A feast for the eyes, this show has been.
A feast for the eyes. Yeah, you said it. You said it, Geoff. Geoff, I loved having you on. I know we had some scheduling difficulties. We had technical difficulties, but we made it through. I think it was worth it.
We got there in the end. Just a little bit of background. We had problems sort of tying up our times together. I think we had about 3 or 4 days we were going, yeah, we'll do that day. I had problems on one day. You had problems on the next. I've had problems. We get access to screeners. I'm not joking when I said that this episode has been an 8-part series of installments for me as I've been trying to get through the screeners without them crashing. We've lost internet here several times tonight as well. My partner has actually walked in as we've been recorded saying, how are you recording when we've got no internet? But yeah, it's somebody out there didn't want this recording to happen tonight.
My gosh.
Damn it, we did it.
We did it. Geoff, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Talking to me about Star Trek Prodigy, the episode Masquerade. Can you tell us where can we find you on the internet? What podcasts are you on right now?
Right, okay. Well, I can be contacted on Twitter, while Twitter's still a thing, at NCC_17 Formula 1. I've also set up an account on Hive, which apparently is the next big thing, which is at NCC17 Formula 1, no underscore. If you're interested in what I do podcast-wise, you can catch me at Beyond Farpoint with my good friend Baz Greenland. We're also doing a new Farscape podcast here on We Made This, myself and Nick Chandler. We've recorded only the first primer episode, which we're hoping to get released in the new year. That can be found at Uncharted Pod WMT. And you can also look out for me on various other We Made This podcasts as well. Incidentally, if you also like your retro computer games, I run a channel on Twitter called @Specky World Cup. We're trying to find the best ZX Spectrum video game from the 1980s through lots and lots of polls. But yeah, that's you can get me on any of those places.
All right. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of We Are Starfleet. My name is Mike Slamer, and you can find me on Twitter at Mike Slamer for as long as Twitter exists. I'm also trying out Mastodon and Hive, but I haven't quite figured out how to use those things quite yet. Man, it feels weird being, like, my parents don't want to try new things, and now I don't want to try new things. That's not cool.
No, Mastodon has been a bit too fiddly for me, so...
It's funky, right? It's funky.
But anyways,
I hope we don't miss out on any of the conversation. You can also follow the podcast at Starfleet Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Fairly active on these platforms. And as always, we're a part of the We Made This Network. So you can check out WeMadeThisNetwork.com for not just We Are Starfleet, but also other Star Trek podcasts covering Star Trek Picard or the animated series, or also, Babylon 5 and Lord of the Rings. All different kinds of content is available over on the WeMadeThisNetwork.com page full of podcasts. Folks, in about a couple of seconds or so, you're going to hear about what else you can listen to on the network. But I just wanted to take this time to say thank you for remaining subscribed. As always, if you love what you hear, feel free to shout us out with a nice 5-star review. If you want to hear more about Geoff, feel free to drop a comment. And until next time, live long and prosper.
Welcome to the third age of podcasting.
The name of the podcast
is A Dream Given Form,
a show about J. Michael Straczynski's Babylon 5
for the We Made This Podcast Network.
Join us in 2022 as we look back at themes and ideas from across the show's history.
Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 prominent leaders of Babylon 5, Sinclair, Sheridan, and Delenn.
Everything from Earth and the Shadows and Mumbai, all the way through from early days of Season 1 all the way through to the Interstellar Alliance, and it's their legacy. Interstellar Alliance is really the legacy of these 3 characters. We are kind of going to potentially some scary territory here, looking at the parallels between Earth Force in Babylon 5 and the real world in which we live in now.
It is a really insidious way of doing things, and the more I think about it and the more I watch that scene and the way that Pierce speaks and talks about it, it really just fills me with chills because, you know, our politicians do this all the time. They talk like this all the time and they hide their true intention behind false promises. Current situation with the potential reboot of Babylon 5 for the CW network.
He's been involved in comic writing, he's been for Spider-Man, he's done shows like Sense8, which is very progressive as well. He's going to bring all that experience into the project, so I think it's going to be a very different show. And even some special guests too. Lita herself, Patricia Tallman.
I love hearing that people are still interested in Babylon 5, and, you know, it's really an honor to continue the conversation around a show that meant so much to us. And, you know, it's the little show that could.
Yeah. And then in 2023, join us for the 30th anniversary of Babylon 5 as we start fortnightly look-backs at The Gathering Season 1 and beyond.
So, join us for A Dream Given Form.
Our last best hope for peace.